A Song Can Change Your Life is made possible by a grant from the Fulton County Virtual Arts Initiative. Recognizing the therapeutic value of the arts and the need to support the creative community during the COVID pandemic, the Fulton County Virtual Arts Initiative offers operational support to enhance the arts sector's ability to present virtual arts programs and creative engagement opportunities for Fulton County residents and visitors. A Song Can Change Your Life is recorded in the Black Box at the Alpharetta Arts Center, located at 238 Canton Street, Alpharetta. To learn more about programs and events at the Alpharetta Arts Center, go to alpharetta.ga.us and search Arts Center, or click the link located on our website, asongcanchangeyourlife.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to A Song Can Change Your Life, a podcast where we talk with one songwriter, one-on-one, about one of their songs. We're recording today here at the beautiful Alpharetta Arts Center in downtown Alpharetta, Georgia. And we're recording in the Black Box inside the Alpharetta Arts Center. My special guest today is Nashville songwriter J.P. Williams. J.P. wrote the #1 hit song, Best Shot. I met him over 15 years ago, and when I first met J.P., our first interaction wasn't even conversation, it was music. So I think the best way for you to get to know JP today is to hear him up close and personal. So let's go into the Black Box and meet JP Williams.
This is where faith is born, rushing right into a storm. And all you know is you can't go back, but you're not alone on this lonely path. 'Cause God shouts in the darkness and whispers in the light. You can hear His voice the clearest when you're holding on for life. He finds you in the shadows, says it's gonna be alright. God shouts in the darkness, whispers in the light. Whoa, 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 whoa. When the sun is out and the sky is blue, He's not far from me and you. When you're crying tears like rain, like thunder crashing through the pain, God shouts in the darkness and whispers in the light. You can hear His voice the clearest when you're holding on for life. He finds you in the shadows, says it's gonna be alright. God shouts in the darkness, whispers in the light. Take a breath, close your eyes. You're gonna see on the other side. God shouts in the darkness and whispers in the light. You can hear His voice the clearest when you're holding on for life. He finds you in the shadows, says it's gonna be alright. God shouts in the darkness and whispers in the light. Oh, 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 It's great to be here to play tunes for A Song Can Change Your Life. It's a pleasure. My name is J.P. Williams, and the next song I'd like to play for you is one I wrote with Bobby Tomberlin a few years ago. Me and Bobby got together that day like so many others at my publisher's office. It was the first time we ever met one another. And we started talking about the roots of country music, which I think is incredibly fascinating. And that led us to start talking about the Grand Ole Opry. And so we came up with this idea, what would the Grand Ole Opry sound like if he or she was a human being sitting in a rocking chair just telling you stories? And so this is what we came up with. And it was kind of a cool story because a few years later I actually got to sing this song on the Opry stage, just me and the guitar, which is a moment I will never forget. But this song is called Grand Ole Opry. I was born on one November night back in 1925. Millions would invite me in to their living room like some old friend. I remember like it was yesterday, the first night I crossed the radio waves. I was introduced by George D. Hay. He'd say, "Let her go, boys," and the fiddle played. And they say that I'm the one that made country music what it is today. But it really wasn't me, it was the stars who graced my stage. I'm alive and well as I can be. I'm the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah. When Hank Williams used to visit me, those are some of my favorite memories. And what I'd give for one more time to hear the voice of Patsy Cline. And they say that I'm the one that made country music what it is today. But it really wasn't me, it was the stars who graced my stage. I'm alive and well as I can be. I'm the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah. I'm just so proud to be here, y'all. Here's the Wabash Cannonball. The coal miner's daughter's as good as it gets. Circle ain't been broken yet, no. Circle ain't been broken yet. And they say that I'm the one that made country music what it is today. But it really wasn't me, it was the stars that graced my stage. I'm alive and well as I can be. I'm the Grand Ole Opry.
J.P. Williams, my friend, welcome to A Song Can Change Your Life. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Man,
thanks,
it's good
thanks
to see
for
you.
the invitation.
Welcome back to Alpharetta.
Yeah, this is great.
You and I, people may not know this, but you and I have known each other for a long time, almost 20 years, I guess. And
God, that's hard to believe.
it is. We met when we were...
Because I'm only,
we met when we were 5.
25.
In kindergarten, I guess, where we met. But if you take a right out of the Alpharetta Arts Center where we're recording today, if you take a right out of the parking lot and drive about 5 miles, you'll come to a restaurant that's still standing by a different name, but I met you at a place called the Yellow Fin.
I remember that.
And you and I met at an open mic.
Yes. We did a lot of those back in the day.
We were killing it on the open mic circuit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, all the miles in, whether it be your van or me in some bus or cab, to play, for free a lot of times.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, a song or two. Unbelievable. Yeah, I wouldn't trade those memories for the world, though. That's good memories.
And especially the further you get from them. I know a lot of musicians and songwriters listen to this show, and so it's interesting. The further you get from those days where you would literally, like you'd be playing music at 10 or 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday to the bartender and a couple other songwriters, but yet there was a magic to it and a purpose to it that motivated you.
It was the unknown.
Yeah.
It was it was the curiosity of where could this take me? And there was always a sense of possibility, of what could happen tomorrow, basically.
And what I appreciate about those days is that I got to share them with you. A lot of that memory was with you.
Yeah.
And so having someone in your life with a shared history of a journey like that is very powerful. We developed a strong friendship from those days, and then all the days you are now in Nashville, Tennessee, and before you moved to Nashville, all those journeys in my van, late at night, driving back, those conversations and the sense of hope and that you were driving towards something. You were driving. You didn't know what it was, but you were very hopeful.
Absolutely, yeah. And the what I thought Nashville was outside looking in, and it's always different. No matter what it is in life that you're pursuing, it's always different when the curtain is rolled back. And it's different because it's reality happens and life happens. And life is, no matter what season you're in, any of us are in, it's always 50, some good, some bad. But I remember just thinking Nashville was just this shiny thing in the distance, and I had to get over that mountain, to get there.
It was Oz. It was Oz.
It was Oz. Yeah. And then you get there and you realize it's a business. People are feeding their families, and they need things to make money. The things that they make or that they promote, they need those things to make money. Yeah. It's just reality.
Well, I think this was last year, I was driving up to Nashville to play the Bluebird or somewhere, and I'm in my van by myself driving toward the gig out of Atlanta, and I'm listening to the radio, and your song comes on that you had co-written called Best Shot, and that's the song we're going to focus in on the show later today, later in this interview. But I'm driving in my van, the same exact van you and I took all those trips for all those years to Nashville, playing for any publisher who would listen, anybody who would listen, any open mic, anywhere we could play. And now I'm in that van driving to a gig, and I'm hearing my friend who I took that journey with, and I'm hearing his song on the radio that had reached number one. And it was one of the more powerful moments in my life. I'm ecstatic for you and for that, how that door opened up and really changed your career in a lot of ways. But it was inspirational to me because I got to see the front end. I got to see the hard work. I got to see the very beginning, the genesis of all that effort that paid off in this particular moment. And it's an inspiring thing. Even if it wasn't music, it's just to see someone go from all that hard work, effort, and hope and ambition, and to be there in that moment was just very, very powerful.
Oh, well, thank you. No, that's
I'm sure you've had many of those moments as well recently when that song took off. And but anyway, I wanted to thank you for that. You're my friend, but that was a private moment between me and that car, and it was powerful, man. Anything is possible. It really is.
Yeah.
I want to get to that starting point with that, how you got that writing session with Jimmy and Josh. So you you went to college, came out of college. You went to Tennessee School for the Blind. Then you went to UT Chattanooga, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Graduated, came to Atlanta.
Yes.
And that's where I met you.
Yes.
And then in 06, you took this incredible leap of faith. You knew that what you wanted to do was all in Nashville. And that although you were making this monthly commute back and forth, you knew that you had to get to Nashville to make it happen for you, I assume.
Well, I just got more and more interested in the creative process of things, more so than the performing side of things. And I thought, wow, I'd always heard of guys, they had this job where they would clock in figuratively, because it's a pretty relaxed lifestyle. It's flexible. But you clock in and you get together with your buddies or just people that you've been set up to write with, and you imagine things all day long. And then so you come into the room that morning with nothing, and then you leave, if it goes well, with intellectual property, something tangible, like a song that then, hopefully your publisher likes, and then hopefully. So I got really, hearing about that path in life, I thought, wow, that's just phenomenal. I want to know, and I thought to myself, if I go and I fail, then I'll have my answer. But if I don't go and I don't get my answer, it's always going to be just kind of, gnawing at me. And so life, I got freed up. A lot of personal things in my life at that time. I was like, well, there's nothing personal. I don't have my relationship and all that kind of stuff. It sort of fell through. And so I was like, well, I'm at a crossroads. What do I do? So I just thought, well, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's go. So I got on Craigslist at the time, and this, people posting needing a roommate. The guy posted, luckily he was just a really good guy. He was a law student at Vanderbilt, and he and his fiance at the time were looking for, a roommate. And so I, didn't know this guy from Adam, and here I am moving in,
I remember that.
Yeah.
We moved some of your stuff in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you hopped on how did you get to Nashville? Did you hop on a Greyhound? Didn't your dad take you or something?
My dad was the one that, he had a pickup truck, and I just loaded in a couple of pieces of furniture.
So you called Dad and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm moving to Nashville.
Yeah,
come give me a ride."
And I'm at an age at that point where I'm not a kid. I'm late 20s at the time, or early. So it wasn't like I was 17 years old moving to a strange city by myself. But still, to take that leap, and my dad's like, "Well, okay, let's go." So we just loaded the truck full of stuff, and I moved in, and I remember that first night in town so clearly in my head. Just I'm laying there in bed and hearing the traffic outside my window going, what am I doing?
Were you excited or scared to death?
I was really excited because I knew, okay, well, I'm here. Now let's just see what happens.
And lots of people do that. I mean, in Nashville, there's tons of stories, and I assume it's the same for New York with acting and LA for acting and stuff. But tons of people, young writers, come into Nashville, and they just get there.
Yeah.
And there's no checklist that says, all right, step one, you do this, step two, you do this.
No.
So you move in, you're with a roommate you don't really know. So you're in town. What do you do? What are your first steps? The next day you get up, what do you do?
Well, through all, the commuting that I did over the years, I met some songwriters, a handful of songwriters, and I met some publishers who were willing to at least listen, and so I just kind of started calling around or trying to utilize the contacts I did have at the time to the best of my ability, and just say, hey, I'm here, I'm in town now. I would love to write with some of your writers. And then, some friends of mine were willing to introduce me to some other people, and they introduce you to other people, so that's kind of how that works. That's kind of how I did it. I just, I didn't know any better, really. I just I just knew it was something that I wanted to try and be a part of.
I saw in one interview you said, I think it was, I wrote it down somewhere, it was intelligent ignorance.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, because I sincerely had no, I mean, there again, I was completely naive, I think in a good way, because if I knew then what I know now, I don't know if I would have done it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think it's that way with a lot of things in life. When you know too much, it's it can be a little, if you feel more like a mountain, in the distance. But for me, it was just like, well, I'm here, let's go.
And you made that plunge in 06. And so when did you get that staff songwriting deal?
So I started getting paid to write songs on a monthly basis in 2011.
Okay, so you've been working hard for 5 years.
5 years.
Hustling,
and in that time, I got married. Personally, life started happening for me. And my wife was just really encouraging to just be like, just keep going, just keep, keep plugging along. And because, her support and her love has just been, if honestly, that was a true godsend in my life. I think
you'd be sleeping in a van down by the river if it wasn't for your wife.
I would have a roof over my head, but I would, but the love of her and her encouragement of, keep going, don't give up, and just how it is in life to have someone who has your back and who loves you, no matter what happens. Is very powerful.
Oh yeah. So how does a writer like you, you're in town, you know people, how do you get the attention of a publishing company, and do you actively say, hey, I'm trying to get a staff writing deal, or is it just trying to interact with them and hoping they offer it to you? I
think there's a mixture. It's almost like you have to kind of go in with no expectations, not low expectations, because you want what you're giving someone to be as good as it can be.
Right.
But no expectations. I think anytime you pursue anything in life, if you go in and you have, okay, it's got to go this way, and they need to respond like this, and it can. For me, I found anytime mentally I would go down that pathway, I would get really jaded, and I thought, I don't want to be a jaded person. They've been hearing thousands of songs all week long. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing them in something.
How many songs do you think, ballpark, they had heard of yours?
Gosh.
Before they said, hey, we want to sign you.
Quite a few. It was always kind of, the door was sort of open always for this particular publisher to go in and play them songs. And I remember I was actually working a job. I was on an assembly line making chin straps for soldiers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And so I was doing that during the day. And if I recall correctly, the gentleman that worked at the publishing company emailed me, said, hey, I haven't seen you in a while or whatever. I was telling him what I was doing. I'm saying, I'm just going to need to write at night for a while. And he said, well, what would it take to get you to be able to do it, on a more full-time basis? And so I said, it would take this much, and so they agreed that it would be, they could do that, and no promises. We're going to take a chance and see what you can do. Yeah. And that's the best you can really hope for.
But that was an exciting moment for you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was great because. Especially at that time, it was, you move to town, if you want to write songs, you get a publishing deal. That was sort of the path,
Right.
Now it's, publishing deals are still great. If you get someone who believes in you, that's fantastic. But the business has changed tremendously in the last, 10 years. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was fantastic. I really, God bless the people who make chin straps all day, but I came to town to write songs, so that I got to do that. So
you get signed to a publishing deal,
yeah.
And so what's a normal work day? What's the normal routine as a staff writer? Is it are you pursuing songwriting relationships to write with people, or is the publishing company saying, "Hey, JP, we want you here tomorrow to write with this person or this person"? How does it
It's
work?
a little of both. They're there to nurture relationships and hopefully get you in the room with the right people.
Right.
I mean, honestly, without my deal and without that contact, that's why we got together with Jimmy Allen. That was sort of the connector, and so
So walk me through that day. So
Yeah.
so you and Josh are already known each other,
yeah.
and so you were going to write, and then so the publisher introduces you to Jimmy and sets that up, or how did you guys end up in that room?
With their publisher and my publisher had a relationship. I'm sure they still do. Whatever.
Okay,
but
so you guys need to get these
yeah.
guys
We need
here.
to set these guys up. This
Okay.
guy wants to be an artist, and he's here in town. He's ready to go. Can he get with some of your writers? And so yeah, he came over and
So you go into a room.
yeah.
You and Josh already have a relationship. You
Yeah.
get a third guy in that you don't know at all.
Yeah.
And so, how is that? I mean, it seems, for people who don't write for a living, that seems challenging to get a total stranger into a room, start a conversation that will lead to writing meaningful songs.
Absolutely. It's creative dating, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There's something that happens. I mean, you know how it is in anything in life. With another person, you click with some people more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And so, luckily, just the dynamic in the room that day, and we were just all three trying to write the best song we could write.
Right.
And there's something really freeing about that point. There's no, everybody's just glad they're there, and before any kind of success happens, there's no expectation other than they want a great song, obviously, but I don't know. It's very freeing. It's kind of like that no expectation type of vibe I mentioned earlier. It's very we're just in our moment and just trying to write a great song. And
So a typical writing session like this one, for example, would be you guys, hey, introduce yourselves, you sit at the table, and you start just a conversation, just talking, and then eventually either someone comes in with an idea and says, hey, I've been thinking about this idea, and if you guys want to press on it, or sometimes within the conversation, someone says something that someone goes, hey, that idea could be a good song.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I'm recalling correctly, Jimmy, we were singing some lyrics and we were all throwing out stuff, and Jimmy, because he's the artist, so
Right.
the goal is to try to write something that he's going to care about.
Yeah.
And he threw out the title "Best Shot," and then we were just off and running. We're like, oh, that's great. And I think we all, in our own ways, anytime anyone, the music business is a tough business, and so if you're in it long enough, you really, it's the kind of folks I've gotten to meet over the years. It's been really phenomenal because it's a lot of survivors. I mean, you go through a lot,
Yeah.
And there's no guarantees after you go through the ranks that anything's going to happen, and so that song, to me personally, I'm sure those guys, the other two guys, could tell you something different, but for me, it's very it applies heavily to, hey, I'm just going to give this. I'm not perfect,
Yeah.
but if I'm talking to my wife, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to give it my best shot, and in that it's just it's so real, and I think maybe that's why it resonated with a lot of people, because
Simple. It's
simple,
real,
and it's
everyman.
It's real,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not trying to be Superman or whatever. It's just saying, and I think that's what struck a chord. I believe it's just because Jimmy wasn't afraid to show imperfection or to show, like, man, I'm out here, working hard for my family, and I think people sensed that, at
Sure.
least from my perspective.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
So you guys had written 4, 5, 6 songs with in a batch that was part of.
Yes.
Did you sense any sort of separation of that song from the others you had written?
Honestly, at that point, I I was sort of at a crossroads in life because music had become something for me where I was hearing a lot of white noise. I mean, it was creatively just kind of, because I'd been really hammering it. It's a meat grinder, you know?
You got to churn out X amount. It's a quota. You got to put out X amount of songs. So you're just churning out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I like to work.
Right.
So for me, I had written a lot of songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciated that song, and I liked that song a lot. But I like a lot of other songs.
But at that point, you had so much inventory, if you will, that it becomes very difficult to say, yeah, I noticed something different about this or didn't. So my assumption was that, again, your inventory is so big and stuff you were writing is all good. I've heard hundreds of songs by you that to me all could be number ones on the radio. But I guess my point of that asking that is, there wasn't any sense in the room like this one's going to stand out.
Well, I quit saying that.
Sure.
Because you get these songs and you're like, oh, I love this.
That's the one. Yeah.
And you get on this creative high.
Sure.
And so I think for me it became just sort of sober reality, which I think is a good thing to be in. But you want to love what you do, but at the same time, it's a business. It's not a baby. So you have to separate. And there's still songs today that I'm like, oh man,
right.
I really love that one.
Right.
But it's so subjective because I could really love something. Yep. You could hear it and go, well, I'll forget about that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
So music is a strange animal in that way.
So for the guy on the outside looking in, so you write with Jimmy and Josh, you write 4, 5, 6 songs. Who decides which ones of those get demoed?
Well, I think Jimmy and his producers and his label. There's a lot that goes into that.
So when Jimmy played it at the Bluebird and Ash Bowers heard it, at that point it had not been demoed.
I don't believe so. I think he's definitely turned it in, but I don't.
Right. So when you guys turn in songs in those situations, you're turning in pretty raw work tapes.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then someone else will then at that point either producer or the publishing company says, "Hey guys, I think this has something to it. Let's go ahead and spend a few bucks and get this demoed right."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ash Bowers and Jimmy both agreed. Yeah, let's go into the studio with this one and see. At the time when he heard it at the Bluebird, I think they both thought, well, let's go in and
Yeah.
See, and
that's what great producers do. They're able to identify songs for artists that say that aligns with your, for lack of a better word, brand. That speaks to your voice. And
absolutely.
Someone like Ash Bowers has that incredible ability to say, yeah, Jimmy, this feels like you singing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that you'd have to talk to him about that. But from what I recall, that was kind of what happened. And then he recorded the song. He put it on his album, and then I believe Bobby Bones heard it, and he started playing it. And then the label said, "Well, let's make this the first single." And then and it was really like a dream come true.
So how much information are you getting in real time as a songwriter? Because you're continuing to write, you're continuing to do what you do, and you and Jimmy and Josh are friends, but everybody's doing their own thing.
Absolutely.
So how are you getting information that says, hey, this is getting cut, and then B, this is going to be a single? How are you getting that information?
Well, Jimmy was great about reaching out to us and just saying, hey, it's doing this now. And then we wouldn't hear from him for a while, and then he would reach back out and say, hey, he was really good about staying in contact with us. And but it's funny because through all this, my contract ended, and I started working full-time for a large tech company doing social media customer service. And so I found myself not on the row. Seasons change, and contracts end. And I wasn't on the row every day.
Music Row, yeah.
Music Row, sorry, I need to clarify. Music Row every day. And so it was really fascinating, and it was a great lesson. Life doesn't always go the way you want it to. and it can surprise you. Because I remember, working the early shift at my 40-hour-a-week job and getting a text from my buddies saying, "Hey, I'm watching the charts and it's climbing," and I'm sitting there at work getting yelled at on Twitter, which I'm grateful to have the job, but it was a really good lesson to learn, because in my head, I sort of, when it happens, I kind of envisioned it differently, what I would be doing.
Do you know what you were doing? Remember the moment you heard it went to number one?
I think it was on a Sunday when Jimmy texts both me and Josh and said, "It's number one." I think I was waking up. I was laying in bed. And yeah, that was just really, that was a really, really cool moment, and something I'll never forget the rest of my life. Carry it with me.
And there's a wonderful process in Nashville when songs go number one. They recognize the writers, do different ceremonies and that type of thing. And that had to have been extremely gratifying for you, understanding the amount of pavements you've walked in that town, and the amount of open mics and rejection, and your ability to absorb rejection. To get that phone call, that text from Jimmy, that had to have felt one of the more unique experiences of your life.
Absolutely, and the number one, when you get a number one, BMI, CSAC, and ASCAP, the two, the three performing rights organizations. We were, I believe the only, because I'm a BMI writer. Mm-hmm. And Josh and Jimmy, I believe, are CSAC, and they put on a number one party for us, and that was several months later. And at that, I just lost it. Especially when I mentioned my wife. Yeah, I started just from the stage. I actually cried in public.
Man, ain't nothing wrong with that. It's so understandable. It's so real.
Yeah,
because she walked that journey with you.
Absolutely, the whole Nashville journey. She walked that with me, and a lot of times, people only see one dimension of you.
Sure.
And she sees the full thing, and that's what I think. I don't even know how to articulate that emotion, but it was overwhelming. It was very, and something I'd honestly, and I'm so glad everyone was there. But if it was just me and my wife, I would have been completely fine with that. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
mail me that. Now, I'm not saying I'm glad that I got to be part of a number one celebration. That was amazing, But I remember all those years of going to other number one parties and sitting out in the audience and listening to the speeches and going, one day I wonder if that'll be me. And then when you get there, it really is. For me, everyone experiences it differently, but it was very much like a moment with my wife that
Well, in addition to your wife and your friends along the way, we all got to cheer you on, and even I think it's powerful for your alma maters, like Tennessee, Chattanooga, these other places along your journey, people who have supported you, cheered you on, call you their own, and because I read different articles and stuff, and you've gotten to perform in some of these different places, and it's a powerful thing for them to be able to say, our friend J.P. Williams, who's one of our guys, just got a number one. They feel part of that.
Yeah.
And that's so much bigger than just that number one on a Billboard chart. It's in a certain sense, you're a bit of a hero to a lot of the folks that have walked this journey with you, because we get to say, or the Tennessee, Chattanooga people to say, yeah, man, one of our own went to Nashville, faced a lot of challenges, and man, he got a number one, and we get to be part of that.
Well, I'm and also at this point in life, I'm so appreciative and so grateful for friends. You're exactly right, because like it's fun anytime we meet. It's like we pick up right where we left off, and I ran into another friend of mine who knew me, back when I was in college and coming to Nashville, and he's a songwriter, and I ran into him at the mall the other day, And it is fun to be at a certain point in life where you can reminisce and talk to people. And because there's a lot that if you're not careful, you can forget. And it brings it back. It's like, wow, what a journey. What a fun story. And it didn't have to happen. You know, I really consider it a huge blessing in my life. And it's something that I'll cherish always.
Well, when you and I first started trying to work in Nashville, you, myself, a gentleman named Joe West, and a young lady named Sabrina Murdaugh, we pulled our resources and we recorded an show that you and I, all of us did at the Douglas Corner Cafe.
Yeah.
And we used to make these CDs of our live show and sell them for $5 because none of us had recorded music. And we called those projects, we called ourselves the No Hit Wonders Songwriter Store. Never thinking in a million years that one of our buddies in that circle would have a number one. It's just, it's such a great story, JP. And even looking at the lyrics of the song, I'm just flesh and bone, heart and soul. I've earned a couple scars. I've let once in a lifetime kind of things slide right out of my arms. I've struck out. I've been knocked down more times than I can count, but that don't matter now. And man, ain't that the truth? You know, I know Jimmy sings that and can relate to it, but I also know you can sing it and relate to it.
Absolutely.
I know I can.
But you know, the thing about the song that I just realized in talking to you just now, the chorus hits. When you smile, I see a sun. So it all comes back to human beings.
Yep.
And it all comes back to when I think about the song, and you know, I've let once in a lifetime kind of things slide right out of my arms. But when you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out of California.
And you can sing that to your bride, Irene, in a second.
You know, and that's what I always tell people, that moments are so fleeting, and it's the people in your life that's the thing that lasts. You know, nothing wrong with having a dream and a pursuit, but it's perspective, and have a dream, but don't let the dream have you.
Yeah.
And because that can happen. It happened to me along the way. Yeah. You know, so I think it's the relationships. You know, at the end of it all, what are people going to be talking about? You know, it's how we treated others. You know, and so
and we all hope at the end, when our last breath, man, we can all say we gave it our best shot, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm just flesh and bone, heart and soul. I've earned a couple scars. I let once in a lifetime kind of things slide right out of my arms. I struck out, been knocked down more times than I can count, but that don't matter now. 'Cause when you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out in California. There's no doubt because of you, I'm not the man I was before you. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, oh, you know I'm not, but I love you with everything I got. Girl, I'll give you my best shot, yeah. You saw a spark inside of me that no one else could find. Your good morning eyes, they get me high. Girl, you're always on my mind. 'Cause when you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out in California. There's no doubt because of you, I'm not the man I was before you. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, oh, you know I'm not, but I'll love you with everything I got. Girl, I'll give you my best shot. When I saw you for the first time, I knew I found amazing grace. It's like angels singing every time I hear your name. 'Cause when you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out in California. There's no doubt because of you, I'm not the man I was before you. When you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out in California.
There's no doubt because of you I'm better than I was before you. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, oh, God knows I'm not, but I'll love you with everything I got. Girl, I'll give you my best shot, yeah. Gonna give you my best shot. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah, give you my best shot.